Hello everyone. Here is the set of the day. Let us solve it. It says a newspaper agency conducted a survey in which a reader has to select his first three preferences of newspapers out of the 5 newspapers: Rajdhani News, Dainik Khabrein, Times of Capital, Rajdhani Express, Din Raat. So, according to the reader's choice, 532 points are awarded to the paper selected by him at the first, second, and the third preference. And it's known that every paper is selected as the first preference by equal number of readers. Now, it means that if X people have selected the Rajdhani News as the first preference, X has also chosen the second one, and X has also chosen the third one, and so on. Right? It's not necessary that these X people who have chosen the Rajdhani as their first preference are same as the as those who have chosen Dainik Khabrein as their first preference. That is not necessary, but the total will be X. If X people have chosen the RN as their first preference, then X people must have chosen the Dainik Khabrein as the first preference. And the points of 3 papers are given to us and 2 are left blank. Now, first question says, it says that Rajdhani News is a paper. If Rajdhani News is a paper with the, so this is the second question, I think. First question says, if the total points awarded out of the 5 papers is not maximum for RN, then find the minimum number of readers covered in this survey. So maximum points are not for RN. That means 150 is not the maximum point, right? So these two cannot be the maximum points. That means the maximum points has to be for Dainik Khabrein or Din Raat only. These can be the 2 papers who are giving the maximum points, either Dainik Khabrein or Din Raat. So without loss of generality, let us say Dainik Khabrein is the paper which is getting the maximum points. And since question says that we have to find the minimum number of readers, so to get the minimum number of readers, what I can assume is then that DR is getting the minimum points. Since the points of other 3 papers cannot be altered, they are already fixed. So I can play with the points of DK or DR only. So I'm assuming that DK is the paper which got the maximum points. And since the number of readers has to be minimum, that's why I'm just assuming that DR got the minimum points. And since every paper got the first preference for equal number of readers, I can assume that Din Raat got only one preference, that is the first preference from the X people. Din Raat got only one preference, that is the first preference from the X people, right? I'm not assuming that it is getting second or the third preference as well. The only reason is that I have to minimize the number of readers, because if X people have given this paper as the first preference, and if it gets a second preference, then those second preference will or third preference will be given by the remaining people. That means the same people who have given it the first preference cannot give it the second preference. That means there will be some other Y people who will give this paper as the second preference. There might be some other Z people who will give it the third preference. In that case, the number of readers will increase. So in order to minimize the number of readers, I am assuming that Din Raat got only the first preference. It did not get second or the third preference, right? So that means there are X people who gave Din Raat as their first preference. So total points of Din Raat will be 5x. That means Din Raat got total points as 5x. Let the total points of DKR say Y. Let the total points of DK are Y. Din Raat got 5x points, DK got Y points, right? And the total points up to this point is the points of Rajdhani are 150, the points of Times of Capital are 128, and Rajdhani Express has 142. So I can say that the total points of all the papers, will be sum of these 3, 150 plus 128 plus 142 will be 420, plus the points obtained by DR 5x, plus point obtained by DK, which is Y. So these are the total points. Also, we can also find the total points in another way. Can I say that if X people rated Dinrat as the first preference, X also rated Rajdhani Express as their first preference, and so on. That means all these 5 papers are getting 5x points each from the first preference. All these papers are getting 5x points each from the first preference. So that means the total points obtained from the first preference will be 25x. The total points obtained from the first preference will be 25x. But since the readers can give 5, 3 and 2 points, that means the first preference has 5 points. The total that a reader can give is 5 plus 3 plus 2, 10 points. A reader can give 10 points, right? And out of these 10 points, 5 points are for the first preference. That means half the number of points that a reader can give comes from the first preference. That means this 25x, which are the points from the first preference, they are actually the half the total number of points. That means half 25x is the half the total number of points. I can say that total points will be 25x into 2 or 50x. So total points are 50x. So 50x is also the total points, right? Now I have 420 plus 5x plus y as my total points, and also the total points are 50x. Now this equation has, or can be first of all written as like this, right? Now let me erase this part. I have to find the solution of this equation, right, in terms of x and y. Now I can say that if I put y is equal to 30 here, first of all, what I will get is 420 plus 30, 450 divided by 45. It will be give me x as 10. Then to get the next solutions, what I will do is I will just increase the value of y by an equal amount which is equal to the coefficient of x. That means 45, and the value of x will be increased equal to the coefficient of y, which is 1, right? So y will be increased equivalent to the coefficient of x, 45. So 30 plus 45 is 75, and x will be increased as the coefficient of y, which is 1, so 11. Now you can check that 11 and 75 is also a solution to this equation. You can check that. After that it will be 45. If I add 45, it will be 120 and 12, and after that it will be 165 and 13, and so on and so on, right? But we are assuming that dk is the one who is getting the maximum points. So if dk is getting maximum points, I can say that this value of y, the total points of dk, I have assumed the total points of dk to be y. This y should be more than the points of Rajdhani News, means 150. So this y should be more than 150. That means these 3 cases are not acceptable, and this is the first case which is acceptable, right? And since the question is asking for the minimum number of readers, that means we have to find the minimum number of minimum value of x, right? We have to find the minimum value of x. No doubt the next solution will be if I add 45 to this 165. You can check that 2, 10 and 14. This is also a solution to this equation, right? But in this case the value of x will be 14. Here the value of x is 13, and since we are interested in the minimum number of readers and the total points are 50x, and if the readers are minimum, the points will be minimum, right? If the points are minimum, only then the readers will be minimum, since every reader can give 10 points. Not can give, but he is giving 10 points, right? So when the points are minimum, only then the readers will be the minimum one. So instead of taking the 14 and 210 case, what I will take is I will take 13 and 165 as my relevant case, right? Now in this case the value of x is 13 and the value of y is 165. So this is the minimum value of x and y, and since the readers required are to be minimum, the total points has to be minimum. So if I take x to be 13, the minimum points will be, minimum points in this case will be 50x, and x is 13, so minimum point will be 650. And since every reader is giving 10 points, so total readers will be, readers in this case will be 650 divided by 10 or 65. So answer to this question is option 3. Let us now check the next one. It says If Rajdhani newspaper is the Rajdhani News is the paper with the maximum points, then find the range of the people who covered in this survey. So in this case now, Rajdhani News is the paper which is getting the maximum points. Again, I do not know the points of Dainik Khabre and Dinrat. So let's say, let us assume that total points of this Dainik Khabre and Dinrat, their total is, let's say, Y, right? These two papers are getting a total of Y points. And since Dainik Khabre at least getting 5x points, as well as Dinrat is at least getting 5x points, since these two papers were given first preference by X people, which is also the number of people who has given the first preference to the other papers also. So both of these papers must have got at least 5x points. So I can say that this value is this value of Y, which is the total points of these two papers, must be greater than or equal to 5x plus 5x. So it should be more than 10x. It should be more than 10x, right? Also, Rajdhani News got the maximum points, which is 150. That means DK and DR, these two papers cannot get 150, right? If I give these papers 150 and 150 each, their total will be 300. That means Y cannot be 300. Since Rajdhani News is the one who is getting the maximum points, that means DK and DR cannot get 150 each. That means their total cannot be 300. Their total is not possible to be 300. That means the value of Y, although it is greater than or equal to 10x, it also is less than 300. Now, as discussed in the previous question, the total points will be, again in this case also, the total points will be 420, which is the sum of these papers, 420 plus the points of the sum of points of DK and DR, and I have taken that to be Y. So 420 plus Y is equal to, total points are also equal to 50x. So from this equation, I will again find the solutions for X and Y. Now, I know that if I put Y is equal to 30 here, I will get X as 10. So 420 plus 30, 450 by 50, that will be not 10, but sorry, 5. I will get, my mistake, sorry. 450 by 50 means 10, 9. Right. And after that, to get the next solution, what I will do is I will just increase the value of Y equivalent to the coefficient of X, which is 50. So 30 plus 50 is 80. And in that case, you will get 500 by 50 means 10. After that, again increase it by 30, 50. It will be 130 and 11. After that, 180 and 12. I'm increasing the value of Y equivalent to by an equivalent amount of the coefficient of X and the value of X equivalent to the coefficient of Y. After that, you will get 230 and 13, 280 and 14. You can check that all these values of X and Y, they are the solution of this equation. Again, remember that the first solution I just found by hit and trial, 9 and 30. After that, to get the next solution, I am just increasing the value of Y equal to the coefficient of X, which is 50, right? And the value of X equivalent to the coefficient of Y, which is 1. Now, we have to check among these solutions, the solutions which are satisfying this condition also, that Y is greater than or equal to 10x. Now, in the first case, if I take X to be 9, then 10x will be 90. So 30 is not greater than 90. That means this solution is not possible. If I take X to be 10, then 10x will be 100 and 80 is again not greater than 100. So that means this solution is again not a valid one. If I take X to be 11, then 10x will be 110. So 130 is greater than 110. So that means this solution is possible. On the same lines, you can check that the next 4 solutions are also possible. Right, I have not taken the next solution which will be 330 and 15. Right, I have not taken that. The reason is y should be less than 300, so I cannot increase the value of y above 300. Right, so the last value of y possible is 280. Now question says the range of the people who are covered in the survey. So I have to find the minimum number of points, minimum number of total points, and the maximum number of total points. I have to find the minimum number of total points and the maximum number of total points. So minimum total points, I know that the total points are 50x. So total points will be, minimum total points are 50x, 50 into. Now to get the minimum points total, the value of x should be minimum, and the minimum x possible is 11. So 50 into 11, 550. So in this case, the readers will be 550 divided by 10, 55, and maximum total points, they will be obtained when the value of x is maximum, that is 14. Maximum value of x possible is 14. So 50 into 14, which is 700. So readers in this case will be 700 by 10 or 70. That means the range is from 55 to 70. This is the range. So answer is option 2. Now let's come to the third question. It says, now this question says that if Times of Capital newspaper got the minimum points, if Times of Capital paper got the minimum points, then find the minimum number of readers covered. Find the minimum number of readers covered, right? Now, as in the solution of the previous question, we have taken the sum of dk and dr as y. We have taken the sum of dk and dr as y in the previous solution. I've taken the sum of points of dk and dr as y, and this Times of Capital, this is a paper with the minimum points. That means 120 is the minimum points. I can say that the points of dk are more than 128. At the minimum, let's say 129, and similarly here 129. These are the minimum points of dk and dr. That means the minimum value of y should be 258. The minimum value of y should be 258, right? And question says that we have to find the minimum readers. So if I want to find the minimum readers, I can say that Rajdhani should, since among these points, let's say this is having 129 points, this is having 129 points. So Rajdhani News is getting 150 points, which are the maximum in this case, right? And I am not increasing the points of Dainik Khabrein or Din Raat, etc. in this case. I'm not increasing the points, right? So I can say that the least value that y can take is 258, right? So with the help of the previous solution, I can say that these were the 4 case possible: 11, 12, 13, 14, and the corresponding values of y were 130, 180, 230, and 280. But since in this case now the value of y has to be at least 258, that means the only case possible is with 14 and 280. This is the only case possible now with 14 and 280. That means the readers in this case will be, first of all, find the maximum total points, although they are already solved here. So maximum points in this case will be, or the points, not the maximum now, the points in this case will be 14 into 50 means 700, and readers in this case will be 700 by 10 means 70, right? So it simply means that since Times of Capital, it got the minimum points, that means Dainik Khabrein and Din Raat will get at least 129 points, So their sum has to be at least 258. So if their sum is at least 258, that means these cases, case of 11, 12, 13, this will not be the acceptable one. So only case acceptable is with 49 to 80, and with these values, the readers comes out to be 70. So answer is option 2. Thank you to all of you.